It's murder out there. I mean on telly, and I mean for women. The Fall, The Killing, Rillington Place and The Missing. Has there been a crime drama of late that hasn't featured a parade of violated and mutilated, bloody young female corpses? As a novelist myself, I do know there's a difference between truth and fiction. All too often, women exist in such dramas, if they do at all, only to be killed off by men. I'm uncomfortable with the camera's focus on women as helpless victims and men as predatory abusers. I say it's high time we stopped glamorising this violation of females and serving it up as entertainment. It licenses degradation and it entrenches awful stereotypes. British television shows some of the best drama in the world, but we can do better than this when it comes to the representation and portrayal of women.
What happens in television is that somebody produces something brilliant and everybody copies it for a few years and then you move on to the next thing. I think what you're talking about started with The Killing, which I think was one of the great pieces of television of recent years. I mean, it was, it wasn't in English, it was 20 hours. There was only one killing in the first episode, one killing.
Of a young girl.
Of a young girl. But it was brilliant, a brilliant piece of television. And I think everybody looked at it and said, hang on, someone commissioned 20 hours of that at quite a cheap price, and it was massively successful internationally. And I think that's, therefore, all sorts of writers suddenly started writing the same sort of stuff. And I do think I haven't seen some of the others you're quoting, but I go back to Prime Suspect era and the rest of it, where you saw the same thing happen. Prime Suspect suddenly emerged. It was this brilliant crime series. Lots of people did other crime series, then they drift away. They've come back again now, but I don't think this is about a sort of sexist view. I think you might be being a bit too sensitive.
Oh, I'm a sensitive flower, am I?
You are.
I think it's a bit dismissive to say this is just zeitgeist TV. Because what we're seeing so often is almost a sort of shorthand when we come to these violent crime dramas. A little girl, you see her on screen, she's going to be abducted in a sort of Liam Neeson-style Taken sequence. If you see a man in a plaid shirt and a Volvo, he's a good guy. If you see a single young woman, as we are going to see in this clip from The Fall, you know that if she's a single young woman out to enjoy herself, showing some sort of independence and autonomy, she's probably going to get killed by a man.
Remember, it's an addiction. He takes his fantasies and he turns them into reality. That makes him feel superior to the rest of us, mere mortals. As such, in his own mind, he feels he has the right to decide who lives and who dies.
So that was from The Fall. It was actually quite hard to see, but you saw the Jamie Dornan serial killer stalking from outside this woman's house, and she ends up a corpse, obviously, as so many women do on telly. And that was interesting. You heard Gillian Anderson, who plays Stella Gibson, who is the detective who nails the serial killer, saying it turns fantasy into reality. And that is my problem with this, which is for many people, if they see this so often on screen, it's going to be a bit like a computer game. And people who go out and kill people in American schools with submachine guns, they will copy this. It's a sort of learned behaviour.
You're telling me that the people running around America with submachine guns because of what they just saw on the telly?
No, because they play video games where they practice shooting people down.
So what you are saying is we're going to have a rash of serial killers.
It is a normalisation. I think I agree with what Greg said. The Killing was very successful. People copied it, but it does go back longer than that. I mean, I remember The Girl with the Dragon series. I hadn't read it. Everyone was talking about it. When I finally read it and then the films were made, I couldn't believe that what it was essentially about was this kind of, murder and sexual abuse of young women, basically. That was what the whole thing was about. And for some reason, that is something that people are so fascinated by. And I think what's happened, what's made it more sophisticated and dressed it up, is that we often have these strong female characters on the detective side. And Gillian Anderson, who obviously plays the detective in The Fall, has said something quite interesting about it. And she's defended it. And she said, it's unfounded. It's not gratuitous in any way. Rather, it points to the fact that there is still so much violence against women in the world. There are so many other series that are drastically more violent and gratuitous than ours, but they get less attention for it because it's in the context of, say, vampirism. Ours is so real and its characters so recognisable that it gets under the skin. And I can see where she's coming from, but I agree with you, Rachel. I think it doesn't address the root causes. Why do people find it entertaining to watch these really horrific scenes of rape and murder? And I do think it is.
Can I be honest? And I'm going to get myself in trouble here from probably all the girls that are watching this, and at the risk of being anti-female, I've never seen a single show that you've mentioned, but I've just made a note of that one when it was on. I'm going to watch it.
Well done.
Yeah, but it's titillating. I'm not saying it's not
joking.
titillating, but I think there's a problem in just
I'm
having
not
this.
joking. When I watch movies or television, I want them to be. I will only really watch psychological thrillers. That's my kind of movie genre. I want them to be gritty. I want them to be gruesome. I don't just want to see women getting murdered. Obviously, that would be strange. But I'm addicted to The Blacklist, where one of the key characters on that is a woman. And it's like, for me, it's just entertainment. It's fiction. If I was watching whatever that was, The Fall or whatever it was, and then I was reading in the news about some random guy that was a serial killer having been inspired by that programme, I might feel slightly differently, but I don't feel that there's a link between, I don't watch that on television and want to become a serial killer.
I'll tell you what the link is, Michelle. The link is that the vast proportion of violent crimes are by men, and the vast proportion of victims of sexual crime are women. And what we are seeing is this served up as entertainment, and I think that is problematic. And I think Michelle is the one who's we're going to lose Michelle after the end of this, aren't we? You voted yourself out.
I'll tell you what I do have a problem with. I've read something in here, which is The Last Tango in Paris. I've never watched it, never heard of it, I'll be honest.
No, this is horrible.
And when I'm reading about this, it's talking about that there was a rape scene in the movie that actually was partly real, that the lady didn't know, the actor didn't know.
That was the Maria Schneider, aged 19. This was not in the script. Whereby,
Sure, but that's nothing to do with this, is it?
No, it is. I think
It is a bit.
because
It's
about
part of an industry that is. It is a fact that the film and television industry is at the senior level
exploitative.
male-dominated. It's male-dominated, and not all of the men.
That's
and
not
that
true.
was an
That's
example.
not true of the television industry. It is true of the film industry. It's not true of the
The people
television
who are
industry.
funding and commissioning these big-budget dramas are more male, and the people who are directing them are male.
I don't think that's true. I mean, the other interesting thing about your discussion, you put 10 Rillington Place. Well, 10 Rillington Place happened.
It's factual.
That's
that
real.
is factual.
Yes,
That happened.
Agreed.
Why would you?
But
Now, the one thing-
yes, but people who watch it don't necessarily know it happened, so it's still crime
Do you know what
drama.
struck me? That clearly all I ever watch on television now, because all the shows you've been through, all I seem to watch is The Pledge and the Royal British Legion on a Saturday night, so around Poppy Day. That's the only all I watch.
And Songs of Praise.
Yes, only if the songs are good. But what occurred to me, and you will hopefully know this, or one of you will.
Yeah.
There was a heck of a row about a TV show called Poldark, where
The rape
he
scene.
forces himself.
I watched it, and he didn't.
He didn't?
I'm giving Ross Poldark a clean bill of health.
Okay.
But I'm afraid that was cooked up by the BBC in order to increase
was it?
ratings
Okay,
against Queen Victoria, so that's slightly different. By the way, you said the film industry is very sexist. Well, I've been hearing that there is going to be the next sexual abuse scandal is going to be in Hollywood, and how the Hollywood moguls are using the casting couch as a way of exacting sexual favours from females before they're cast, which is the same sort of thing that happened to Maria Schneider in Last Tango. She was in a movie. She felt she had to do what the big guys wanted, the big dogs wanted her to do. She did it. She was unutterably traumatised, ironically, in a film about middle-aged male trauma.